It's okay to say we got a super team. You know, give you guys some credit. They're a super basketball team, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Why are we acting like it's a bad word?
I guess the connotation to some of these guys is that it's a shortcut in some way, and that's what they're trying to sort of negate.
No shortcuts.
But it's not.
They say that stacking star players is the only surefire way to dominate in the NBA. 3 household names, each dropping 25 a night, is supposed to mean guaranteed rings and unstoppable runs. Yet time and time again, we've seen these so-called super teams crumble under pressure, leaving fans wondering, is talent alone enough? Over in the Bay Area, the 2025 Warriors are challenging that old narrative in ways no one saw coming. With less raw star power than their rivals, but a surprising mid-season addition, they've ignited a run that has the entire league buzzing. The question isn't just whether they'll keep winning. It's why their formula works when everyone else's fails. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll understand the real secret behind a true super team. You'll see why the 2025 Warriors might be the most dangerous squad in the league, and how they've harnessed a hidden advantage no one else seems to grasp. Let's dive in. For years, NBA fans have clung to the notion that Big Three equals unstoppable. Stack 3 elite scorers, let them combine for 80-plus points a game, and everything falls into place. At least that's how the story goes. This belief took off when LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh joined forces in Miami. It reached new heights when Kevin Durant packed his bags for Golden State in 2016. In both cases, the championship results seemed to prove that star power was all you needed. But the reality is often more complicated. Just look at the Phoenix Suns of a couple of seasons ago. They had Kevin Durant, arguably one of the best scorers in history. They had Devin Booker, a lethal shooting guard capable of lighting up any defense. And they brought in Bradley Beal, a prolific scorer coming off near 30-point-per-game seasons. On paper, that team was supposed to dominate. Fans went wild anticipating nightly highlight reels and effortless blowout victories. Yet it ended in disappointment when they were ousted by a hungrier, more cohesive squad that didn't rely on star wattage alone. This is the first major clue. Having 3 big names doesn't guarantee the ring. Something else has to click, or it all falls apart under the weight of hype and internal tension. Phoenix wasn't the first. The league's history is littered with flashy rosters that never reached their full potential. The 2020 Clippers, for example, looked terrifying at the start of the season. They had 2 elite wings in Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, plus a stacked bench that included quality veterans and sixth man of the year candidates. Critics and fans alike proclaimed that championship glory was practically a lock. Yet backstage whispers painted a different picture. Rumors about special treatment for stars, teammates who felt left out, and frequent tension in the locker room started swirling. When the playoffs arrived, all that underlying friction boiled to the surface, and the Clippers fizzled out in a stunning collapse. Or how about the Brooklyn Nets when Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden joined forces? They were hailed as an all-time offensive juggernaut. But rumors of inconsistent leadership and conflicting personalities circulated almost as soon as they teamed up. Eventually, injuries, controversies, and trade demands derailed their title hopes. That roster is now an example of what happens when immense talent lacks the glue to stay together. So, if star power by itself doesn't guarantee results, what's the real formula for success? To answer that, we have to look at one team in particular, the 2025 Golden State Warriors, and a single mid-season move that changed everything. Before this season began, there were whispers that the Warriors' best days were behind them. Sure, they still had Steph Curry, arguably one of the greatest shooters of all time, and Draymond Green, who remained a defensive and emotional leader. But after coming up short in recent playoffs, fans wondered if the Warriors' championship window was all but closed. Then, as if out of nowhere, rumors started circulating about Golden State's front office making a bold move to reignite the roster. When the dust settled, the Warriors had acquired Jimmy Butler. Immediately, questions rose. Was he too old? Was he too intense for a famously tight-knit Warriors team? Critics argued that he wouldn't mesh with the laid-back culture, or that his high-energy approach might create friction with established leaders. But Golden State's management insisted Butler was the missing puzzle piece. the difference maker who could catapult them back into contention. At first, it looked like a high-risk gamble. Even fans who admired Jimmy's postseason heroics worried he might not fit at a system dominated by off-ball movement and three-point shooting. However, just a few weeks after Butler's arrival, the conversation flipped. Suddenly, the Warriors found themselves on a winning streak that drew national attention. This wasn't just about star power. It was about a mindset shift, something deeper than any highlight reel or box score line could show.
It's all about projections. That's why they have a draft.
How many All-NBA teams, how many All-Star teams, how many
Defensive Player of the Year. Yeah, exactly.
If you ask legendary NBA coaches about the true key to building a champion, you'll often hear them talk about culture, the intangible set of values, beliefs, and dynamics that shape how a team performs. There's an old saying that culture eats strategy for breakfast. You can have the perfect plays, the best skill sets, and the brightest basketball minds, but if the locker room isn't unified, it all falls apart. Jimmy Butler is known for his relentless work ethic and an almost obsessive drive to win. Some teams, especially younger squads, have bristled under that leadership style in the past. However, the Warriors are uniquely positioned to harness that energy. They're not a bunch of inexperienced players figuring out how to handle intense personalities. They're a group with championship pedigree. Steph, Draymond, and Klay Thompson have been through the highest pressure moments the league can throw at them. As the rumors go, Butler's arrival kicked their sense of unity and urgency into overdrive, rather than tearing them apart. There were hushed speculations that a few role players initially felt wary about Butler's demands. He's not exactly known for biting his tongue when teammates slack off. Yet, instead of fracturing the team, it seems to have elevated everyone's game. The Warriors embraced the challenge. They rallied around the principle that if you're going to talk about championships, you'd better practice like champions. The result? A group that looks nothing like a disjointed set of stars, and more like a single organism flowing up and down the court, each member trusting the next to do their job. That cohesion, some might even call it Zen, is exactly what makes them so dangerous. It's no longer about star value or hype. It's about unity of purpose, day in and day out. If you're still on the fence about the Warriors' new might, look at the field of contenders this season. The league is flooded with talented teams, but each faces hurdles that could knock them off track when the playoffs roll around. Oklahoma City Thunder. They've been a force in the regular season for 2 years straight, even securing a top seed last season. But come playoff time, they stumbled in the second round. Young talent can dazzle from October to April, yet the postseason often exposes inexperience. The question is whether OKC's core can rise to the occasion when the stakes soar, or if they'll have another letdown. Denver Nuggets. Nikola Jokic is unstoppable on offense, and the team runs like a well-oiled machine when he's on the floor. But take Jokic out, and their offense sputters. In the playoffs, bench minutes often decide tight series. If Denver can't maintain at least a break-even pace when Jokic rests, they may be in for a rude awakening. Cleveland Cavaliers. They've assembled a promising mix of young stars and veteran talent. But Donovan Mitchell's postseason track record has been uneven. He's lit up scoreboards before, yet hasn't consistently carried his teams beyond the early rounds. The Cavs front office also faces whispers about internal pressure. Are they truly contenders, or are they still in that middle ground trying to prove themselves? Boston Celtics. The reigning champs are powered by a league-leading three-point barrage and a structured system that seems unshakable. Yet, they've struggled against Jimmy Butler in the past, getting knocked out by him twice in 3 years before they finally got the better of his old team. Now that he's on a roster boasting the Warriors' championship DNA, do they have the mental edge to beat him again? Each of these contenders might appear daunting, but the Warriors don't see them as unstoppable foes. They understand that synergy, humility, and a collective commitment can topple even the most formidable lineups when it matters most.
I think, we were kind of headed in the wrong direction, thinking we're figuring it out and never figuring it out. I think we're going to win the championship.
One of the biggest reasons the Warriors are such a threat this year is what fans affectionately call Playoff Jimmy. For anyone who hasn't followed Butler's trajectory, he's a player who seems to transform under postseason pressure. Some superstars shine less brightly under the lights of the playoffs. Stats go down, and blame goes up. Jimmy's the opposite. He appears to relish those high-stakes moments. We've seen him drop 40 and 50-point outbursts in must-win games, turn entire series around with sheer willpower, and drag teams to the finals when nobody believed they stood a chance. Now pair that with an organization that already has multiple championship rings. Steph Curry isn't going to fold under pressure. Klay Thompson's battled back from devastating injuries to return as a sniper from beyond the arc, and Draymond Green's emotional leadership has galvanized them in countless playoff runs. All those components blend together into a potent mix of experience, grit, and hunger. It's as though Golden State looked at Jimmy Butler's approach and said, "Yes, that is exactly what we need to push us over the top again." Are the Warriors simply on a hot streak? Or does this new dynamic make them a legitimate juggernaut? Skeptics will point to the occasional blowout loss or a few underwhelming regular season outings where they look disorganized. But if history has taught us anything, it's that the playoffs are an entirely different animal. And the Warriors, more than almost any other team, have shown they can elevate their game in April, May, and June. But the story doesn't end with adding a fierce competitor like Butler. There's also been chatter about changes in the coaching staff, quiet additions who emphasize mental resilience, and small strategic tweaks. Some insiders suggest the Warriors have tapped into a brand new scouting and analytics group that dissects every detail of playoff matchups, ensuring the team can adapt on the fly. Beyond that, role players have stepped into bigger contributions. The moment Butler arrived, the focus shifted to a next man up mentality reminiscent of Golden State's earlier championship teams. Guys like Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody, for instance, might never become daily 20-point scorers, but their improvements in decision-making and defense reflect a culture that invests in everyone, not just the stars. There's also speculation about future moves, contracts coming up for renewal, the possibility of a budding star from Europe joining next season, or even rumors that Draymond Green might retire sooner than expected. But that's part of what makes the Warriors so compelling. They're simultaneously planning for the now and the future, weaving everything together under one unifying principle: believe in each other and believe in the system. From the outside, the 2025 Warriors might not look like the unstoppable, top-heavy super teams of the past. But if you dig deeper, there's something special happening in that locker room, something that transcends the usual star-stacking formula. They've got a healthy blend of championship experience, renewed hunger, and an elite competitor in Jimmy Butler who thrives under the brightest lights. More importantly, they've built a culture where ego takes a back seat and synergy leads the way. That's why they can blow out good teams even when Steph Curry only scores 11 points, or rely on a guy like Jimmy Butler to do the little things on nights when his shot isn't falling. Teams that rely solely on star power often get blindsided by the playoffs. The moment a bench unit falters or a shooting slump hits, everything unravels. But the Warriors have found that intangible factor that holds them together when adversity strikes. They're proof that a super team isn't about how many perennial all-stars you can cram onto one roster, but about how willing each player is to sacrifice for the win. So, as the postseason nears, consider this. The contenders stacked with names might seem unbeatable, yet the Warriors are quietly lurking, unconcerned with accolades or box office hype. They've rallied around a single goal: winning a championship by any means necessary, and they're having fun doing it. That may be the scariest thing of all for the rest of the league. If there's one lesson we can learn from their story, it's that success isn't always about adding more. Sometimes, it's about unlocking what's already there, shifting mindsets and placing faith in each other's strengths. Like Phil Jackson emphasized, there's a stage of team unity so cohesive, so trusting, it borders on perfection. And the 2025 Warriors are inching ever closer to that realm, right under everyone else's noses. Whether or not they hold up the trophy at the end of this journey, there's no question. The rest of the NBA knows they're a threat, and that changes everything. If you're a fan of basketball, or if you're a fan of any underdog who rises through collective effort, this season of the Warriors is a must-watch, because they're not just rewriting the script for themselves. They might be changing how we think about team building in the NBA as a whole. And who knows? Maybe this new Warriors blueprint will become the model for the next wave of championship contenders. As fans, all we can do is watch the story unfold, and admire the magic of a team that's turned unity and belief into its greatest weapons.